If you've ever felt that little knot in your stomach when it comes time to invest in your business, you're not alone. Whether it's joining a mastermind, hiring a team member, or finally backing yourself with proper support, the fear is real. What if it doesn't work? What if I waste the money? What if I could just do it all myself? But here's the truth. At some point, every successful CEO has had to take that leap. And today I'm chatting with someone who did just that. One of my masterminders, Jess Britten, the founder of The Social Inbox. Jess joined the Profit Collective, my mastermind, earlier this year. And in this episode, we're talking about what it really looks like to invest in your growth, the fears, the shifts, and the incredible things that happen when you finally back yourself. All right, let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the podcast, Jess. I'm so excited to have you here. Today, we're going to be chatting about investing in your business and about how, there's a lot that comes up when you go to invest in your business. But before we dive on into that, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself to the listeners, please.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Claire. My name's Jess, and I have been working with Claire for the last year or so. And in my business, I specialize in email marketing and most recently leaning into AI marketing, supporting small business owners.
I love the work that you've done in the space of AI. We actually had Jess as a speaker, as a paid speaker, to come inside the Profit Collective and present around AI. And you got us so excited about what's possible and how it can really help people to make things faster. And I believe you've worked with some pretty cool brands in this space, haven't you?
Yeah, it's definitely something that this year has accelerated a lot. And if you're following at all what's going on in this space, it's almost changing daily. But it is the thing that I love about it, is particularly for small business owners, is the ability to fast track what you're doing, and also to actually, I see it from a creative point of view where you can now create content that you couldn't previously do before because of the AI. So it's a super fun space, but there's obviously mixed emotions about it. People are a little bit apprehensive to it, but it's not going anywhere. So I'm really excited and passionate about empowering business owners to be able to use it to the best of their ability.
And what's some of the advantages like for e-com brands? Because I know that that's who you work with. Like, what are the advantages of using AI in their marketing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, particularly for e-commerce, the volume of content that any business now needs to create online to sell their products is extremely, extremely high. So, having AI just allows business owners to create a higher volume of content quicker. It's obviously still really important to have, the human element to it, but you now can create, product imagery, even UGC content with AI, and just allows you to have that kind of volume of content that is required, because we're going into a time, particularly in 2026, where there is going to be so much content out there now because of these tools that we have. So it's kind of essential for business owners to use it, because they'll get left behind if they don't.
Yeah, so you're kind of looking at it just as part of your product mix, your product suite. It's not like completely replacing the human
No,
element. It's just
absolutely.
expand.
That's a
Yeah.
really good point, and I actually think it's really important to still have that human part to your brand and to your business, because as we go into 2026, when there's going to be so much AI content, consumers are going to be like, oh, is that real? Is that AI? And they will still need that connection with the brand, the person. It's just how you intertwine it and use it as part of the mix.
Yeah, cool. And are you using it much in the space of the email marketing as well?
Every single tool, every single tech tool has AI now in it.
Yeah.
It's built into every single tool. So yes, it is built in there. The main, and I do use it, but the main part that I use it for is, I guess, creative content, or even like creative copywriting. So using in that regard. There are tools out there that are doing like AI completely generated email marketing, but it still looks quite
Fake.
AI,
Fake. Yeah.
clunky, yeah, fake. You still, at this point, you still need the human touch on the email marketing. You can't just go, yep, there we go. So it's kind of, using tools as we build out our email marketing strategies, but it's still very much kind of like the human leading the AI.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I think that that's how we keep the humanness in our content. I know for me, I'm using AI in my content creation, but I still want it to be me. Like I still
absolutely.
want to be leading it. I still want to be, no, that's not how I'd say that, or that's not quite right, or they've kind of missed the mark there. They, I'm not sure what pronoun to use for AI.
She, my boss. Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, interesting times that we are in.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's very interesting. And one of the things I'm seeing a lot just on this AI thing while we're talking about it is like in bigger businesses and is the organization chart, the org chart, and how it's up until right now, it's been quite a traditional structure. You got your boss, you got your team members, you got the juniors underneath. But now businesses are looking at it going, okay, what function can be AI and what needs to be human? So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that kind of evolves in businesses, I think, in 2026 and beyond.
how interesting. Yeah, I think, sorry, I know we're actually gonna get into the topic, but I want what is coming for this next generation. So I saw my son was messaging a friend the other day, and he found the mic, and instead of typing out words, he was talking.
Uh,
And I was watching thinking, oh my goodness, like, when computers first came, I was like, are people going to lose the skill to be able to handwrite? And now I'm like, maybe the skill of even typing is going to become less and less
yeah.
important. Interesting. Okay, we're going to dive on in and talk about investing because I think that this is something that a lot of business owners struggle with. And I'm sure that you see this with your clients. I know that you've experienced it as well of your journey coming into the Profit Collective. So I wanted to really start with, I guess, what sort of comes up when you first see an opportunity and you go, oh, maybe let's just focus in on the collective specifically at this point in time. But like when you first heard about the collective, and what's sort of coming up for you, sort of sitting there looking at the pros and the cons, what's running
Yeah,
through your head?
it's definitely a great question. And I think anybody, when they're about to make a big investment in their business, has apprehensions. Like, is this going to be the right choice for me? Is this the right person? Is this the right service? Is this the right product? Everybody has that thought process before they make any decision. And sometimes I think, I'm guilty of this. We get caught up in that thought and we talk ourselves out of it and we think, oh, I can't risk investing. I can't
Mm,
risk investing in that. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until I'm a bit bigger. But the thing is, I think in business that we're always going to be thinking that no matter what investment we make, it's like, oh, I've grown my business to this size, but then I can't take that leap because I'm not there yet, kind of thing. So I think it's like a decision and process that as a business owner, you have to mentally overcome. You have to have the ability to be able to make educated risks, I guess,
yeah.
and be confident in yourself that you will be able to, make the most of whatever opportunity you're looking at. And that's kind of what I guess I thought or went through when I was looking at investing in, the Profit Collective. I was like, this is a big investment for my business. Is it really something that I can do yet? I could have talked myself out of it, but I was like, no, you can do this and it will pay off in the long run. So that's kind of the process I went through.
So something I learned from my very first coach was there's two components of making an investment decision. There's the emotional component and there's the logical component. And every person makes decisions really differently, and it's really different depending on what you're buying. So maybe if we can talk a little bit through this and see how this sort of resonates for you. So for example, an emotional purchase is, you see a bag or a dress or something, you're like, oh my gosh, I so want that thing. And there's a logical part of your brain that's like, you have 50 dresses in your wardrobe. You haven't even worn those. do you really need another dress? But the emotional part of it is bigger than the logical part. And then there's other decisions that you might make, like, for example, you know, buying a new car. And when you're buying a car, I know that you've got three children. You couldn't go, I'm going to buy a two-seat convertible because it's really like it's going to make me feel really awesome and sexy. The logical part of your brain has to say, I've got three children. I need to have a car that's safe, that's going to have three seats in it. So when you're buying a car, it's probably more of a logical decision than an emotional decision. This is making,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, making sense. Yeah.
And so it's going to be different depending on whatever it is that you're leaning in to buy. So I'm curious to know, like, when you are thinking about investing in your business, where do you think you sort of sit on the logic versus emotion? And maybe it depends on what it is that you're investing in.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're investing in. I think as business owners, we're so passionate about our business. It's kind of our, in my instance, fourth baby.
Yeah.
So we do still have that emotional connection to it. I think it's still an emotive decision. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a point you get to, but in saying that, there are decisions I now make that are business related that aren't so emotionally connected, right? But I think for me, investing in a mastermind there is a bit of an emotional element to it because it is a bit of a like you're opening yourself up to, a new coach, a new group of women. You're a little bit like, what are they going to think? Am I going to compare okay to the other business owners in there? Am I going to be the baby of the group? And that's all the sort of things I went through. Like I was thinking, is my business how am I going to stack up with the other? So I think for me, it's quite emotive, but I'm also quite an emotional person. So I think most decisions have a lean more on that side than the
Yeah.
logic. Whereas I think that there might be other people that look at it and go, okay, it's going to cost this much a month. I've got the finances to do it and look at it like that. Whereas for
Yeah.
me, and Claire knows this, one of my weaknesses is kind of the finance side of things. So for me, it was a bit more of an emotional kind of decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there was the logical component and there
Yeah,
was the emotional component to it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were sitting there sort of weighing it all up, what finally sort of made you go, yep, I'm in? Was there a moment? Was there a like what sort of
Yeah, well, I kind of remember like I went to your day, sort of your, I guess, speaking event that you held in Melbourne earlier this year. And I had followed you you probably don't know this, but I had followed you for years on social media through my old business. So you kind of popped up from time to time. And then I went to the event and I was like, it all sort of aligned. And had been kind of looking for a new business coach. And I went to the event and I was kind of sitting there thinking, okay, this is the space I need to be in. I love the environment. I love the feel. And I pretty much knew at the end of the day that I was like, it was kind of, I had that moment at the event. And then I was like 90% sure. And then the logical brain was kind of kicking in, going, questioning, is this the right decision? And then I was like, no, it is. I had that kind of a ha moment and yeah, jumped in.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I didn't know that. I love to always
Yeah.
find out. And I'm sure you have the same experience when clients come into your world. Isn't it so interesting how there's some people who are like liking and commenting on everything you do and coming, and then there's sometimes people just come up to me, they're like, I followed you for 5 years and I'm like, oh, okay, fabulous. Because when we're creating content, sometimes it can feel like we're shouting into the abyss, can't
Yeah.
it? And then other times you're like, oh, you did see that thing, or you've been on my email list, and yeah, it all kind of clicks together. So, what were you expecting it to be like inside?
Well, I think what attracted me to a mastermind mind environment is being surrounded by like-minded women and being led. Is it? Can you hear me? Sorry,
Yeah,
I looked
yeah.
like it paused on my screen for a
No, if
second.
it glitches, so sometimes with Zoom it does this like glitch. Just keep talking, it will catch up.
Okay, okay, okay.
But sometimes, like even when I'm talking, like it might freeze. Just keep talking, and
Okay,
it'll
cool.
catch up. It's really weird, but it's just a Zoom thing.
Yeah. Okay. I might just start that thought again. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess I was attracted to it and was thinking, okay, I'm going to be surrounded by like-minded female entrepreneurs. I really feel like in a mastermind environment, you can learn off the group, but also the coach. And that's kind of what I anticipated it would be like. And it has been like that. So
Oh, that's cool. What surprised you about the group or about the mastermind so far?
what has surprised me? I think what has surprised me most is working on the mindset element in business. You know, this is something that I think a lot of people can think is a little bit woo-woo and sort of push it to the side and disregard it. However, I'm learning the more that I invest in this and the more that I, you know, put time into my mindset, it really does pay off. So I think for me, that has been the biggest kind of, oh, wow, it actually is really important to do this work. And yeah, that for me has been like, oh, okay, Claire knows what she's talking about.
And so explain a little bit, like what do you mean by the mindset work? Because some people might be like, is that like
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
manifestation or
So I think the mindset, like of what it takes to be, a strong leader. And Claire, you talk a lot about, being the CEO of your business as opposed to just the worker in your business, for example. And that for me, to make that leap, it's a real mindset shift. You need to realize
Mm,
that you can't do everything and you need to be able to kind of work on your mindset enough to unlock that next level, I think. Is that answering the question?
yeah. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that to make the change, it's not just as simple as like for example, putting your prices up. It's just not it's not as simple as just doing it because when you go to do it, all the fears, all of those things will come up. When you go to hire, when you go to step back from your work, all the stories start to pop up again. And
Yeah,
that's why you can't just take the action if you're not actually thinking differently about it.
you've put it a lot more eloquently than I could. That's exactly it. It's like having the skills and confidence to make those decisions by, I guess building on your like, your mindset and everything you're doing in your business to take
Yeah.
it to that next level.
Yeah, I love
Because if
that.
you just keep doing, it's that saying of nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
hard. Change is really hard. We're
Yeah.
we're not programmed to keep constantly
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
It's easy to just stay where you are. So
Exactly.
it's difficult.
And being okay with being uncomfortable because you
Yeah.
have to make change, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to have like uncomfortable conversations because otherwise I find you don't really progress. You just sort of
So
stay.
yeah, I love that. Can you share some examples of a decision or a couple of decisions that you've made of coming into the collective, like big, scary decisions that have, really helped to shift the way that your business works?
Yeah, I think well, there's a couple of things that come up. It's like there's two parts to it. So my business is obviously quite client led. I've got client conversations that I have. So maybe I'll just say about that first. So you know, it's setting those boundaries and having those potentially uncomfortable conversations sometimes with clients that you
Mm.
don't want to have, that ultimately is going to get them a better result, but you a better result too. Because I think when you're in client service, there's a tendency to, I'll do everything for my client. I just want my client to have the best result. But as business owners, we still need to be able to set those boundaries, have those potentially sometimes uncomfortable conversations, because at the end of the day, we're running a business, we're not just their employee. So it's like that's probably an example where I've had to kind of step up and have those kind of uncomfortable conversations. But then the other one for me that comes up is, previously I had looked at investing in my business with contractors, etc. And it just hadn't really worked out. So I was thinking, okay, it's just all too hard. I'm just going to keep going on my own because I've tried a couple of times and it hasn't worked. But that was the wrong decision to make. And being in the collective has, given me the confidence to go again and build out the team. And, now I've got two people working in my team, whereas at the start of the year, I didn't really have anyone. So, and having, the confidence to do that and keep trying, because you got to get back up after you're down. Yeah, has been for me such a game changer.
Yeah, I love that. And I know another tough decision that you made was coming along to our retreat that we had. Again, being a mum of three little kids, it must have been a really big decision to up and coming to state for it.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that.
it was, but I was also quite glad to have 24 hours away. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, as a mum, and, I'm like all mums, we always put our kids first often. That mum guilt comes up a lot. And particularly when you're like, I'm going to go away for 24 hours, leave the family and just work on me and my business. Yeah, I think that it's not an easy decision to make, but it's again being like, no, putting yourself first. And that's something that again's come up for me in the collective, is like putting myself first a bit more than I have previously, and making those decisions for you and your business, because it is really important to, I guess, have the time to dedicate on your business than just working in the business. And having
Mm.
those days like retreats where you get together with like-minded women, and we can talk about business that you can't probably chat about with your mum mates. It's super, super important and like so valuable and inspiring, I guess. Yeah.
We had so much fun at the last retreat, and I'm
Yeah.
really excited for ours next month, which is in Melbourne. Like you said, it's taking that online relationship, and then there's just a different energy when you're in person, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think funny you mentioned that about like online and like in person. I think even like with my clients and businesses in 2026 and beyond, we're going to see a lot more of that, taking the online in person. So
Mm.
because of all of this, developments, AI, etc., people are going to crave that in-person connection. So I think we can already see it from what we're doing, but more important than ever.
Yeah. Well, originally when I sold the Profit Collective, it was
Yeah.
once a year thing. And after having our first experience and just seeing the bonds, we did an ice bath together, and I feel like going through an experience like that brought everyone really closer together. And I thought, I want to do this twice a year. So I've actually increased it to these two, I call them day retreats, because yeah, it's kind of like a mini retreat when we're hanging out for the full day. There was something else I wanted to flag on that topic. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that you were able to carve that time out and come and join us. I have such a different mindset around, and I know that this rubs off on you and a lot of other people in the collective as well. But when I go away the day before, and I get down there and make sure I've got time to unwind, and I come back a day later. And I just enjoy the spaciousness, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm getting better and better at that too
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I love it. Maybe for Melbourne you can book a hotel room afterwards and actually stay in town.
Yeah. Staycation. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Hearing Jess talk about this reminded me exactly why I created the Profit Collective. This is my mastermind for six and multi-six-figure business owners who've built something amazing but are ready to lead at that next level. Inside the mastermind, we talk about, practical money strategy, mindset, and the CEO leadership that helps you scale without burning out. This community is pure gold. And Jess is just one of the beautiful business owners inside. Watching them rise together is what it's all about. If you've been feeling that nudge that it's time to stop playing small and start leading like a CEO, come join us. You'll find all the details in the link in the show notes for today's episode. So, I'm curious to know what's changed most in your business since being in the collective.
Well, I sort of mentioned it previously, but I think having the ability or hiring team has given
Hmm.
me more scope to build the business. So it's freed up my time and it's also given me the ability to grow the business. So the business revenue has grown because I'm now not just doing everything. So for me, that has like there's the freedom element of that, like more flexibility. And I think as business owners, that's why we start the business because we want, like, often that is a lot of the reason why people start businesses is for that better like balance. Obviously, we also still work a lot when we're business owners, but having the team and having the confidence to hire the team is just giving me so much more flexibility. And yeah, it's allowed me to grow the business really, which
And
is
more money.
super exciting. More money,
Yeah.
more money, more money. Yeah. Like, I look at my revenue now versus I've been able to pretty much this year double my revenue, I'd say, like my monthly revenue
Yay!
since the
Isn't that
start of the
awesome?
year. Yeah. So that's super
Congratulations.
exciting.
And
Love
I want to
that.
take a moment and acknowledge that because you think how challenging and uncomfortable it was to invest in yourself, to make these tough decisions, to invest in team, and the dividends are starting to pay off, and
Exactly.
hopefully we can get you even more time freedom as the
Yes.
team starts to pick up more and more. So what would you say to someone who's listening, who's umming and ahhing about, maybe they're thinking about joining the collective, or maybe they're thinking about investing in email marketing, or whatever it might be? What would your advice be to them?
I think when you're making any sort of investment in your business, like you said, whether it's, joining a master like the collective or, getting all your email marketing set up, you need to see it as a longer term thing. You can't expect to invest and get instant results. So I think because, of what I do and the work I do, I know that. So I was able to go into the mastermind going, I know this is a long-term thing for me, but sometimes, and you might see this, Claire, with some of the people that you work with and some of the clients I work with, people think, okay, I'm investing in my business, I'm going to get instantaneous results, or in a month I'm going to see results. It's never the case. Like, whether it's personal development or marketing, it all does take time, but you will see the results. If you invest, have the confidence to know that over time it will pay off.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I think that so many people, we're in such a day and age of people like they want everything now. And the other thing that I also find, and I'm sure you experience this with your clients as well, is you also have to take accountability for your
Yes.
results as well. So, for example, in the e-com space, I know I've worked with a lot of clients who work in that space, and they'll set up the Facebook ads or email marketing, whatever it might be. And the clients are, oh, my sales aren't up. And you're like, well, that's because your photography is shit and your website's not set up for conversion. And, a lot of times your marketing mix is all intertwined as well. And I know that with my clients as well, that I'm like, I can give you your action plan, but if you're not ticking the things off and working through it, you know, then you're not going to have start see the shifts as quickly as when you say, right, I'm showing up to the calls, I'm doing my accountability calls and making sure that I've ticked off my tasks. That's when you really start to see the momentum is when you take accountability as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. Like,
Oh,
I
we
know
all are. I mean, let's
that,
admit.
if I did a little bit more from an accountability point of view, I'd be seeing more results. But it's sometimes, that juggling act, isn't it? It's like, But I think it does come back to the mindset of like, no, you dedicate the time to do it and you will see the result. And it's just
Yeah.
prioritizing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know I love me a good to-do list. And then I'm like, right, I have to get those
Yeah.
things ticked off if I want to have the shifts. And if you're not working through them, then you're like, well, that's okay. There's life happens and whatever. But I then take accountability that I'm like, for example, if I was working with an agency and they were asking me to approve my creative and I hadn't done it. And I'm like, why hasn't my Facebook, why hasn't my Instagram grown? And they're like, because you literally haven't approved the creative. You can be like, okay, well, I'll own that. I'll take accountability for that. And there also is, of course, the component of like, are you making the right investment? Like sometimes you are going to make the wrong investment. You might hire a team member and you're like, this person is not the right fit. You might join a program and the mentor's, vibe just isn't clicking for you. So I
Yeah.
think that there's also that component of making sure that it is the right fit and it is the right place to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I definitely agree with that. Like it can be really scary making a business investment. But I also think that if you are making an investment in your business, like you need to be able to be okay with potentially, that money not having the return on investment that you want. Like it shouldn't be down to the wire that you're like, I can only, that's my last like $1,000. Like that's a bad decision to make. So I think that also sometimes people invest at that level, and that's probably not the right thing to do. Like I
A
do think you
hundred
need to
percent.
be like at a certain level to make it, or depending on what you're investing in, there does need to be that kind of it's okay to make that investment financially too.
Oh, 100%. I had someone recently who told me she was going to take out a loan to work with me.
Yeah.
And I just said, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And she then went with another mentor who obviously said, yeah, great. But
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not a great place. I mean, you can imagine if one of your clients said that to you and you'd be like, but I can't guarantee that it will pay
Yeah.
off in the first month. And I don't want you to be in a position where you're financially distressed. It should be like, okay, I'm taking a step forward and I'm gonna, trust and lean in that the results will come. But it's a lot of pressure to expect it to happen in month one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So, was curious to know if there's been any knock-on effects. So, for example, if your confidence has grown or something like that, have you seen knock-on effects outside of your business as well?
Outside of my business, I think, I'm just more confident in general in business, but in who I am as a person. So, I'm now got much more clarity on, what I want to achieve personally with my, the family dynamic and being a working mom and also, who I am outside of work. So I think it's given me clarity, not just from a work perspective, but it's also been about, how do I have the whole ecosystem that, works for me. It's given me those confidence to make those decisions personally and business wise, definitely. Like, and I think when you're a female entrepreneur, there is always a mix of family and business. It can't be so linear, it has to be a bit fluid. So there's always going to be, investing in something like a mastermind. I think you get, well, the collective, I should say, you get a lot of personal benefits as well as business.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. So, if anyone's listening, maybe they've got an e-com business, or maybe they've got a family or friend who runs an e-com business who needs some help with email marketing or with creating incredible AI content, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, well, feel free to reach out to me. The best place to probably connect with me is on Instagram. I hang out there. My Instagram is the social inbox. I'm sure Claire will drop it in the details. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me there directly. I have lots of ways that I work with my clients, whether it's, supporting them with helping them with their marketing, or even just with, if they need coaching and, a one-to-one call to set them up to get on the right track. So there's lots of different ways that, yeah, I could potentially assist.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jess. It's such a pleasure to have you in the Profit Collective, and I appreciate you being on the potty today.
Thank you so much. This is my first podcast, so I loved it.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think this is something you need to do again for sure. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Claire.
I love today's conversation because it's such a reminder that growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It's what happens when you back yourself. And that's exactly what we do inside the Profit Collective. If you're ready to step into your next level, come join us. The link is in the show notes.